Hello and welcome to Chapter 11, Section 5. Today we're going to be talking about square root functions. A square root function is when there's a variable under the square root sign. So today we're going to start by talking about the equation y equals 8 times the square root of x. We like this equation because this is the speed of a falling object from x feet up. So if we drop something from 20 feet up, then the speed when it hits that 20 feet is going to be 8 times the square root of 20. So when x equals 4, we're going to say y equals 8 times the square root of 4. And it's supposed to be plus or minus, but negative speed doesn't make any sense. So we're just going to stick with the positive numbers, and that's 2. So when we drop something from 4 feet up, the speed is going to be 16 feet per second by the time it hits the ground. And when x equals 50, the speed when it hits the ground is 8 times the square root of 50, and that's when you have to get a calculator out. And our unit is feet per second for these kind of problems. So I'd like you to pause here and give a couple of them a shot. They're pretty quick and simple. Try check it out number 1. Come back when you're done. And when x equals 25, it falls at 40 feet per second. And when x equals 15, it falls at 30.98 feet per second. Next, we want to look at the domain of a square root function. We want to know what all of the x values could be when y equals the square root of x plus 4 minus 3. Well, we know that this is only a real thing as long as the numbers under the square root sign are 0 or larger, because this can't be a negative number. If it is, then it's no real solution. The question is, what is the solution? X plus 4 has to be 0 or bigger or it's not real, which means that we don't have to solve for y. It's asking us to find the domain. So we're going to say x plus 4 is either greater than 0 or it equals 0. And then we're going to subtract 4 from both sides, and we know that x is greater than or equal to negative 4. And that's our answer. That's the domain. X is all the numbers greater than or equal to negative 4. So let's do one of these together. Y equals the square root of 3 times x minus 2. Well, we know that 3 times x minus 2 has to be greater than or equal to 0. So I'm going to divide both of these by 3, which doesn't change that, and x minus 2 has to be greater than or equal to 0. And I'm going to add 2 to both sides, and x has to be greater than or equal to 2. And that's it. I'm going to ask you to pause here, try check it out number 2, and come back when you're done. With problem number 2, 2x minus 1 has to be greater than or equal to 0, which means x has to be greater than or equal to 1/2. And with b, x has to be greater than or equal to 5/3. Now we're going to take a moment to look at the graph of f of x equals the square root of x. Plus 4 plus 2 minus 1, that tells you where it starts, and then you have this nice little gentle upward curve. When the plus 4, plus 2, and minus 1 end up underneath the square root, then that moves it along the x-axis. I'm not going to ask you to do any of the graphing. I do want you aware of it so that when you see it in Algebra 2, it's not frightening. Your homework tonight starts on page 825. It's numbers 15 to 23 odd. Make sure you ask questions if you have any, and I will see you next time.